Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole with me, Shanerator. Because of the random nature of episodes, there's going to be topics that I'm super into and some that I'm not as passionate about. The last episode we did was on electricity, and while I think it's a super important topic, it's not something that I was like, yes, just like freaking out over, you know? Today's subject is one of those that I am very passionate about, maybe even a little obsessive about.
Why are you so obsessed with me?
But realize that I never talk about it. How about a hint? So on average, what activity do Americans do approximately 8.6 times a day? I hope you didn't say cry. So the answer is in this article from the American Cleaning Institute. On average, American heads of household wash their hands 8.6 times per day, which is an increase from 8.0 in 2008. Way to go, America, for being on an uphill trend. Though it looks like the summary was put together in 2009, which at this point could be a little dated, and for all we know, we could be down to 5.0. Now, I feel like this is not taking into account my own hand washing. I'm the kind of guy who's just I wait an hour or two, and I'm using something like a controller, and my hands just feel grimy, and I'm like, well,
here we go again.
So I wash my hands a lot, maybe even more than I need to. But it got me thinking, how does the process actually work? I mean, we've all heard it said that soap kills 99.99% of germs. But what does that mean exactly? My scientific and well-researched hypothesis is this. On a microscopic level, you've got many little miniature warriors who are there to defend your body from the foreign contaminants, which are germs. But what good are warriors without a weapon? And so, by taking things like this, you equip them to fend off the foreign contaminants. But as there are in any war, there's always a few deviants. For 1 out of every 999 germs, there is always one who's like, that's what I think happens. Now, the important thing is, when typing a result into Google, you want to make it sound like you're talking to a little kid, and make sure that whatever you type into the search bar is reflective of what you want, but with nothing more. So, no fluff. How does soap systematically annihilate any forms of physical contaminants, such as dirt and anything of that nature, etc.? Okay, let's see what we got here. The preview of our top search result says, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, both bar soap and liquid soap can be used to wash your hands effectively. Okay, put on your science glasses for this part. Bar soaps contain alkaline compounds that can kill germs by damaging the cell walls of bacteria. Cool. Neat. We figured it out. Nothing more to see here. Just kidding. Let's click through the link and see what more information we can derive. So this first paragraph here is what we saw on the front page of Google, but going down in this article from Medicine.net, Medicine? That's the scientific way of pronouncing medicine. But going further down in this article from Medicine.net, we see some more details as it relates to killing germs. So the pivotal question posed is right here. How does hand washing with soap and water remove germs and chemicals? So it says right here that when you work soap and water into a lather, it traps germs and chemicals and removes them from your hands. Then when you rinse your hands, these germs are washed away. So to go on a minor tangent, very much on brand here, reading this kind of brings back memories where my mom used to make fun of me for not washing my hands properly. Because my idea of washing hands was to pour the soap on my hand, do nothing, and just stick your hands underneath the water and just let it rinse off. None of that lathering type. Ouch. The thing about hand sanitizer is that it's really effective at finding little cuts that you didn't know existed. Now, where can I find an equivalent of that for emotional wounds? But that was the way I washed my hands. Until one fateful day, my mom observed me and was like, "Mi amor, that is not how you wash your hands. You gotta really get in there. Massage the soap into your hands." Yes. Also, my mom's hair is not blonde. That was the only wig I had on hand. But it was on that day that I actually learned the importance of actually working the soap into a lather to then wash off. And that day was yesterday. Totally joking. And there is one word in this paragraph I'm not familiar with, which is this mysterious word here, which is
micelles.
Micelles. Nailed it. But Medicine.net refers to micelles as pockets that form to trap germs, which I'm very fascinated to see what they look like. Whoa. It kind of reminds me of something one would see in a Ridley Scott alien film. I mean, take a look at that and tell me that it is not somewhat intimidating to look at.
Game over, man. It's game over.
But when I clicked on this picture in Google Images, it then referred me to this article from Beauty Euro talking about micelles in a more in-depth fashion, where it says, a micelle is a structure of grouped molecules that bond a collection of particles in a peculiar way. Through the formation of these structures is the mechanism by which some of our soaps dissolve in oil. But how does this happen? Because we know that fat, aka oil, and water repel each other. The micelles from circular polarized structures, where the external part attracts the fat, the lipophilic part, while the internal part attracts the water, the hydrophilic part. Now I'm going to draw from my 8th grade health class and say that lipophilic or lipophilic refers to fat. Dang, I'm good. And that hydrophilic refers to water, which is kind of low-hanging fruit because hydro/water is in the name. But it's always fun to check and see, especially when they have a really weird definition, like to be wetted by water. Like, who says that? To be wetted? Bruh. Isn't it like to have gotten wet? Imagine using that verb tense of wet when talking to your friend. Yeah, so I'm sorry I'm late. I hit a puddle and I got wetted by water. What? No, like wetted. I got wetted by water. What are you talking about? Wetted! I got wetted by water! The more that I say it, the weirder it sounds. Okay, time for a recalibration. Back to micelles, but not micelles specifically. Basically the pockets which sort of help repel fat and oils, which I think could be shorthand for germs, to help facilitate the process known as what is washing your hands. So let's backtrack even further to medicine net. I feel like what we're doing is like the equivalent of having multiple bookmarks and then going back to each one being like the previous pages that we've looked at. But the synopsis of all of this, that using the combination of soap and water helps create a bit of a chemical reaction in the form of those micelles, and the water in this reaction helps wash them away, making your hands squeaky, sparkly clean. And if we go down this article, we can find out some more things here, like what is the right way to wash your hands? But looking further on the article, I can see that we are burying the lead. And a lot of these steps are things that we have already discussed, like using clean running water, rubbing them together. But the single most important takeaway is this. Hum the happy birthday song twice to help you time this. What better way to test this than to actually try it out ourselves? I apologize for being a little out of tune. Okay, so I have a timer set up right here, and we are going to start now. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear me. Happy birthday to you. I feel like this is wrong. I feel like this isn't the best litmus test to determine if this is 20 seconds. I mean, I've heard it said that if you're measuring individual seconds, saying Mississippi, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3, that makes sense because it's more of a shorter duration. But doing the happy birthday song, which I felt like I was singing pretty close in tempo, I'm not talking about the pitch. What I'm thinking is, instead of using the happy birthday song, why not just say Mississippi 20 times?
I'm an engineer. That means I solve problems.
So the CDC, or the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, recommends you wash them before, during, and after preparing food. Now question, for someone who eats basically constantly, I'm not gonna say who, does that mean I have to wash my hands at basically any given point of the day? After using the bathroom, changing diapers, after touching garbage? Listen, if you need an article from Medicine Net to tell you to do this, what's wrong with you? And then my personal favorite, if your hands are visibly dirty or greasy. This can prove to be somewhat problematic if you work in either the automobile or the wood industry, because as someone who is in the latter, you don't really have the luxury of making them not look that way. And then the last part of this kind of hits home. Avoid overdoing it. If only I had this article about 20 years ago before I started washing my hands like 20 times a day. And a good benchmark for discovering if you're washing your hands too much is for taking hand sanitizer and just lathering your hands in it, because it'll tell you pretty darn quick if you've got any little cuts or cracks, which has never happened to me. Ouch. But in reading that last sentence, though, it talks about how having some bacteria is actually good. And I know this is something I've heard before, but what does it mean to have good bacteria? Like, what does that look like? So this first article from WebMD, which is my personal favorite place to go whenever I have any physical malady of any kind, highlights probiotics, which are basically live bacteria and yeast that are good for you, especially for your digestive system. And this is something that I'm sure we've seen in the produce aisle, say like in yogurts and stuff. It's interesting to think about this on an introspective level, because many of us, I'm sure, including myself, have a stigma associated with bacteria, thinking that they're bad, or maybe that they're the same as germs. Which brings me to another question. What is the difference between germs and bacteria? And without looking at these answers, I get the impression that germs is an umbrella term for foreign contaminants that are harmful to the body, and some bacteria could be germs, but not all germs are bacteria. Let's see if I'm right. So it says right here, the 4 major types of germs are bacteria, viruses, fungi, and protozoa. So I guess I kind of had that flip-flop, because it says here that bacteria are tiny one-celled creatures that get nutrients from the environment, and in some cases, that environment is a human body. Speaking of Ridley Scott, I wonder if this is the inspiration he got for the facehuggers in Alien and Aliens. And the second variety of germs are viruses, which need to be inside living cells to grow and reproduce, which is, and I'm 100% extrapolating here, maybe Todd McFarlane's inspiration for the Venom symbiote, because it looks like the difference at a high level between bacteria and viruses is that bacteria sometimes use environment as a human body, and viruses actually need living cells. And then we got fungi.
And what would you like people to know about you?
I'm a fun guy.
Which are easily the grossest of the four. And then protozoa, which is the one that I'm least familiar with. These are one-cell organisms that love moisture and often spread diseases through water. They almost seem to be like a conglomeration of like bacteria and fungi, because they're one-celled organisms like bacteria, but love moisture as fungi do. But the one commonality between all of these is that they invade our bodies and they snuggle in for a long stay. And something tells me that it's not the kind of snuggle you can have with like a little bunny or a significant other or something, but much more sinister. And it comes back around. To protect yourself from germs, remember that you want to do hand washing. So germs are a dime a dozen, and they come in 4 major varieties, but to ward the majority of them off, just freaking wash your hands. It's so easy. All right, and flipping back to our first bookmark on medicinenet.com, the article makes reference to alkaline compounds which are used to kill germs. I wish I could tell you I knew exactly what alkaline was, but the one thing that comes to my mind when it comes to alkaline is batteries. Because right here it says alkaline battery for Energizer. And what does that mean? Well, our friends at sciencing.com has us covered. Alkaline is a word you just don't see often. Okay, put on your science glasses for this part. After all, acids can be fairly described as acidic without confusing anyone, but simply calling bases basic, blah, 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 blah. The article kind of goes in different directions, but it sounds like alkaline is at least similar to basic, which means it doesn't have acidic qualities associated with it. And yet another article from WebMD confirms that this is the case. Here they showcase that alkaline and acidic are basically on opposite ends of the pH scale. Although the previous article very much cautioned us to say that basic and alkaline are not exactly the same, I think it's safe to say that alkaline and acidic are basically opposite qualities on either sides of the spectrum.
This is your side of the island, and this is our side of the island.
Don't try pairing those two up for a date anytime soon, because they will not mix. So we unraveled the mystery from the first article a little further when we determined that alkaline compounds kill germs, and that soaps are basically basic, as in soap does not contain acidic qualities, because I guess that would aggravate the issue of trying to kill germs. Only the basics will survive. Listen, to all soap conscriptors worldwide, I have a public service announcement for you. If you want the highest chance of success, hire on basic people to fight the battles for you. If your prospective warriors love things like untucked button-downs, sports stuff, Axe, you, my friend, are prepared for anything when it comes to the invasion of the germs. Because, after all, life is about basic survival. And now, go fight the battles that we never could. Ouch.